Hi, I'm Zac Farnell. Thank you for joining me for another edition of your Timberlane Weather Update. We're right back to our regularly scheduled recording now. Coming off of last week, we had a very busy week that included a pretty significant winter storm that moved through the area, and earlier this week, of course, we had the total solar eclipse. Thankfully, I was able to go up on a field trip and experience that with a couple teachers. Mr. Peters, Mr. Broad, and our very own Dean Zanello were able to bring a multitude of students up that included me. Luckily, I was able to see the full eclipse, and it was something very special. So thank you to all those who were able to make that happen. As we get back to a regular schedule, the weather is expected to do so as well. Expect some warming up over the next couple of days, heading into nearly 70 degrees early next week as we kick off our Mental Health Awareness Week. The last couple of days have been pretty spring-like, reaching into about the 50s, maybe even the 60s in towards the lower half of New England. But look at the rest of the country right now. You can see this extreme expanse of warmth moving across much of the country. It cuts off around the plains, but you can see much of these areas in through here reaching into the 60s, some 70s and 80s as far south as Florida and Texas. But with the extreme warmth that we've been seeing, we've also been seeing a whole lot of cooling off with this rain. You can see this stripe right across the middle of the country. That represents where rain has fallen that has cooled off the temperatures significantly. That rain is expected to move into our area today and tomorrow. Overnight, for the areas in towards the south and southeast, it did not cool off much at all, into the 50s, maybe even some 60s in some areas overnight. For us, we got down to a normal 40 degrees. This is pretty typical for the April time frame. Today, into the 50s for much of New England, but again, the warmth continues to spread across the East Coast. Hopefully, we can begin to tap into that next week as we get into some very warm temperatures. It's pretty clear to see why we have some extreme rain expected over the next couple of days. This large area of low pressure, you can see identified by the clouds, and you can see the swirl as it continues to move. It did produce a pretty significant tornado outbreak across the south of the United States. That moved over luckily and has since ended. A little bit of storms still exist in the Florida Panhandle, but most of them have cleared out and in its wake have left a pretty significant path of damage through this area. But for us, you could see with the swirl on the satellite, and also as we look towards Friday's front map, you can see this big low pressure system that's bringing in a whole lot of rain across the northeast of the country. You can see by this time down in Florida and much of the south, a high pressure system moves over the area. The rain clears out, and luckily they can begin recovery from those severe storms. You can see the double expected cold front. This will drive down some of the temperatures as we get in towards Saturday. You can see this storm move to our north, branching off some of those low pressure systems, some of those cold fronts, and we begin to get into a sector of some rain showers, maybe some brief snow showers, but only for the north. We will be dealing with nothing but rain as we get towards Saturday. This is your Run of the Savages outlook. If anyone who's running that, expect a couple rain showers in towards the 50s. We'll break that down more on the 5-day forecast. But as we get towards Sunday now, another low pressure system begins to ramp up. Later in the day, we could see some of those rain showers move through. But here's the key. This warm front right here will move into our area and will give us some big time warmth as we begin to look towards early next week. So let's break down on the 5-day forecast what we can expect. Next couple of days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday, again, you're running the Savages outlook. Looks like it will be mostly cloudy on that day, but Friday and Sunday, maybe some rain showers. Heavier rain on Friday as we get in towards the 60s, perhaps even in towards the mid-60s on Sunday. Again, for Monday and Tuesday, we see a significant warm-up into the upper 60s, maybe low 70s. That's certainly possible as you get more inland and away from the coastal breeze. But most importantly, the sun comes out and we begin to see some clearing. Sadly, as we get towards the rest of your Mental Health Awareness Week next week, it will begin to get a little bit cloudier and a little bit cooler towards mid-week. Wednesday, Thursday, maybe the mid-50s, some showers, some cloudiness. But again, for Friday, for Saturday, for Sunday, it looks like it will once more be pretty warm, pretty spring-like. And as we get towards Friday of next week, be on the lookout for that forecast for your mental health awareness 5K as we look to have a pretty exciting event with some pretty nice weather, it looks like. Well, I'm Zac Farnell. Thank you very much for joining me for another edition of your Timberlane weather update. Hopefully the warmth will continue to move into our area and we will see a big time feeling of spring moving across much of New England as we get towards early next week. In the meantime, try and survive the rain. It won't be around for much longer. Thank you very much. Zac Farnell signing off.